Hello, welcome to another video of Acharya Nidana Academy. In this particular video, we are going to learn about three major concepts or things that we need to know whenever we are going to do the analysis of etiological factor or the understanding the Nidana. Before going into this particular subject proper, we need to know about some of the basic concepts that we need to concretize. First, if you know about the physics, chemistry and biology and Ayurveda fundamentals, then any of the information mentioned in Ayurveda can be learned with deepest understanding. So, whatever may be the concept, maybe the concept of dosha, maybe the concept of dosha, maybe the concept of roga marga, maybe the concept of chikitsa, or maybe the concept of swastha vritta, or do's and don'ts, we can able to learn with deep dive understanding. If you're able to apply PCB and the fundamentals. Second, whenever if you want to have a deep dive understanding of any of the concept, practice the concept of minimalism. Minimalism in the sense we need to know about, take one particular small topic, we have to brainstorm this session. That means let us say the concept of dosha. From the point of Rachana Sharira, from the point of Kriya Sharira, from the point of Roga Nidana, from the point of Rashastra Vaisheshya Kalpana Vijnana, from the point of Kaya Chikitsa, from the point of Swastha Vritta, etc. we can able to have the concept of dosha and we can have a deep dive understanding if you learn from those different angles. Third, whenever if you know about it, so want to have a deep dive understanding, we need to first learn the Kriya Sharira concept. So then if you know about it, then learning the Roga Nidana is very easy. If you are knowing each and every corner of Roga Nidana, then learning Kaya Chikitsa is very easy. So in other words, physiology we need to know in a deep dive understanding. Extended physiology, that is nothing but altered physiology, that is nothing but Roga Nidana concept. Then restoring the altered physiology, that is nothing but the principles of Kaya Chikitsa. So that means we can have if you want to have deep dive understanding in all these in a sequential manner, we need to know about the thorough understanding of Kriya Sharira, Roga Nidana and Kaya Chikitsa. Fourth, whenever if you want to have any of the deep dive understanding, first of all you need to know about the identification of a pattern. So that means pattern is nothing but repeatedly occurring events. Suppose if you are taking one particular Nidana, so that is involved in 10 different steps. Suppose if a person is taking the fourth, or if the person is taking an etiological factor and he is in the fifth step in the pathogenesis, probably we are going to predict what may happen in the sixth step, what may happen in the seventh step, what may happen in the eighth or ninth or 10th. In that way we can able to predict it. Let us take the example. If a person is consuming 300 ml of the curds which is having sour taste at night time around 10 o'clock, so there is a possibility of increase pitta dosha in the body. Suppose if the person is consuming, adding this little amount of salt to it, again it is considered to be having much more pitta dosha vitiation. If the person is adding chili to that, that is responsible for even much higher vitiation of pitta dosha. So that means, so if the person is consuming these substances in excess, that may be responsible for the degree of pitta vitiation will be severe when you compare simple sour taste, sour with salt taste, sour salt with chili. So that is leading to much more higher pitta dosha vitiation. This is what is considered to be the pattern identification, which will be helpful in pattern modification. That means pattern modification in the sense we have to stop that particular etiological factor. In that particular sense, you have to switch on to the new pattern, that is consuming the simple warm water or consuming the thin warm milk in that way. So that may be responsible for the pacification of pitta dosha in the body, which are considered to be the main motto of the academy, that is pattern identification, pattern modification and pattern creation. Fifth, no compromise in Ayurveda fundamentals will be entertained while learning the Ayurveda fundamentals here. And next point, follow one particular mentor. So nowadays millions of informations available in the present day information technology. which are being provided by millions of information providers. So if you are hearing all those informations, then it is very difficult for you to move in one particular direction, because the variable thinking pattern in all these different individuals. So that means you are keeping your leg in multiple boats. See, in two boats itself, that may be responsible for you to get into the water. If you are picking the lower limb in multiple boats, not at all possible to move ahead. That same pattern, follow one particular mentor, wherein you can able to identify his past thought process, his present thought process, and what may be his future thought process, that you can able to identify. That is the main thing. That's why follow one particular mentor. And sixth point, whenever if you are learning Ayurveda information, try to learn through the Ayurveda information. And whenever if you are learning Western information, try to learn Western information as it is. Then try to club these information at multiple intervals. If you are able to learn at multiple intervals, and if you are able to connect these information multiple intervals, then that may indicate you are moving in the right direction. The seventh point, that is, whenever if you are learning Ayurveda, learn like learning a new language. New language in the sense, whenever if you are learning a new language, we are going to use most frequently used words first, and you are going to identify its meaning, extent of meaning, etc. For example, whenever if you are thinking about, whenever if you are coming into the Ayurveda, the first and foremost word that you are going to hear is dosha. You are going to hear in your first year, you are going to hear those terms in the second year, and you are going to hear those terms in your third year. That means you are going to hear this particular word throughout your lifetime also, if you are an Ayurveda practitioner. Hence, that particular most frequently used word, you have to learn it, and you have to know about each and every context of that. Then you have to learn less frequently used words, then less frequently used words. In that way, you are going to learn the new language. And Ayurveda should be learned like in that way only. That is like learning a new language. Then only we can have a deep dive understanding of Ayurveda fundamentals. With these informations, we are going to figure out three main things. There are three main factors that we need to know whenever if you want to analyze the etiological factor exposure to the human body. The first and foremost thing is, that is source of entry of pathogen into the body. Second, that is number of pathogens entering into the human body. And third one, the virulence of the pathogens entering into the human body. So these are the very three key things that we need to know about if you want to analyze the pathogenesis that is happening inside the human body. Now let us look into these let us look into these particular informations here. So here, the basically source of entry means what? That means the area where entry of pathogens that can happen into the body. The human body contains 9 orifices in males and 12 orifices in females. The 9 orifices in males are 1 mouth, 2 nostrils, 2 eyes, 2 ears, and anus and urethra. Whereas in case of females, above 9 mentioned orifices plus 1 vagina and 2 breasts. These are the 12 natural orifices that can be seen in the human body. So that means the source of entry of pathogen can happen in either one of the natural orifice, or 2 natural orifices, or 3 or more than 3 natural orifices that can be having an exposure to these particular and the pathogens may enter. For example, if the pathogen is entering through the one orifice, most commonly that is through the mouth. When that is happening, that means we are going to have the initial manifestation of the abnormal pathology that can happen in the alimentary canal. Firstly in the mouth, then you are going to expect in the stomach, then small intestine, large intestine. Why mouth? We are going to get the pathogenic, that means pathogenic events, because the maybe because of poor oral hygiene, or maybe because of the entangling of the ingested food into the areas of in between the teeth. So that means if there is a dental caries are there, in those occasions these the pathogens that may be present in those regions for longer time, right? So whereas the stomach, that means the food may remain in stomach for a period of 2 hours. Small intestine, the food may remain for a period of 6 hours, whereas in the large intestine the food may remain for a period of 24 to 48 hours. So in that way we can have the, what do you say, that the entry of pathogens that may happen in those regions, then the symptoms may be related to these organs itself. That means the symptoms are restricted to alimentary canal. So the symptoms are restricted to abhyantara roga marga. Whereas if the source of entry is happening through the ears, so that means the first and foremost symptom that you are going to expect in the ears only. If the source of entry of pathogen is happening in the eyes, the first and foremost symptom that you are going to expect in the eyes, maybe in the form of burning sensation in the eyes, or itching sensation in the eyes, or there may be secretions that may happen in the eyes, etc. If the source of entry is happening through the urethra, the first and foremost symptom may be observed in the urethra, such as burning micturition, or the person may have the difficulty in performing the sexual act. So like that, the multiple symptoms may be related to those source of entry of pathogen. So the entry of pathogen is happening through the anus, the first and foremost symptom that you may expect in the anal region, such as itching around the anus, or otherwise the person may have the pain during the defecation, or the person may have unformed stools, or the person may have bleeding per rectum, or the person may have tenesmus. So that means straining for the defecation may be present. All these are considered to be the source of entry of pathogens happening through the anus. In other words to say, depending upon the source of the pathogen, entry of pathogen into the different natural orifices, we can have the clinical manifestation that can happen from those particular organs which are being nearest to the pathogen entry. This is the significance. Why this is important is, this is important in determining Nija Vikara and Agantuja Vikara. Nija Vikara means where there will be dosha vitiation that may occur first, thereby there will be symptom manifestation. Whereas in case of Agantuja Vikara, first and foremost there will be symptom manifestation, then after a matter of 7 days later, there will be a possibility of dosha vitiation. So if the entry of pathogen is happening through the mouth, then the person may have the manifestation of Nija Vikara. Whereas if the person is having the entry of pathogen other than mouth, it is happening in other orifices, other natural orifices, the person may develop Agantuja type of diseases. This is the significance of knowing about the source of entry of pathogen. Next, about the number of pathogen. When you think about it, it's also having an important role in predicting or in actually happening about the pathogenesis, the severity of pathogenic processes or pathological events. Suppose if the number of pathogen is 1, the impact of that particular pathogen will be mild. Suppose if one pathogen is entering through the mouth, naturally it is entering into the stomach. So that means the hydrochloric acid, or the, what you say, that the agni is being present inside the body, that can be able to digest this particular pathogen itself, destroy this particular pathogen. Suppose if the number of pathogen is more than 10, that means it is higher than the number 1. That means number of pathogens are more than almost 10 times than the previous one. So that means the pathogens may be having a little bit more severe manifestation when compared to the first instance. Suppose if the number of pathogen is present more than 100 or 1000, then impact of pathogen in the body will be much more severe when compared to the other two events. Suppose if the entry of pathogen is happening through the mouth, maybe 1000 pathogens are entering in the mouth. So that means it is likely to produce abnormal functioning of digestive fire, abnormal functioning of hydrochloric acid, abnormal functioning of pepsinogen, and it may damage the gastric mucosa. Thereby, there may be a possibility of reduced gastric mucus. In that particular sense, the person may have the abnormal digestion. So, suppose if the person is having the entry of 10,000 pathogens through the mouth, that is much more severe manifestations that can happen in the alimentary canal. In that way, the number of pathogens will be deciding the pathogenesis or pathological events, the nature of pathological events or severe pathological events to happen in the human body. Suppose if the number of pathogens are considered to be, in one instance, number of pathogens enter into the eyes is 100, and in another instance it will be 1000. Naturally, the number of pathogens which are considered to be 1000, they may produce much more severe symptoms. That means they may have severe agantuja type of disease in 1000 pathogens entry and than the 100 pathogens entry into the eyes. There will be milder form of symptoms related to eye. This is about the second major inform that we need to highlight very well. The third point that we need to know about is virulence of pathogen. That means how much potent that is considered to be, that is actually deciding the actual pathogenesis. If the virulence of the potency of one pathogen is mild, then it may produce milder reaction to happen inside the body. If the one virulence of the pathogen is moderate, so that means it is producing much more wider reaction, so then the person may have moderate kind of pathogenic event to take place inside the body. If the virulence of the pathogen is much more severe, that means it is whenever it is coming in contact with the source of entry of pathogen, at that particular area itself it is producing much more severe symptoms. That means that may produce much severe form of clinical manifestation. So this is what is considered virulence of pathogen as such. Now let us look into this particular thing in a beautiful example of this. Suppose if this is considered to be the human body, whereas the middle portion is considered to be alimentary canal. What is this? This is considered to be the alimentary canal, and if this is considered upper limb, lower limb, trunk and head, in that particular sense, when you think about it, if the source of entry of the pathogen is more towards the upper limb, for example, if there is a trauma is happening in the upper limb, so there may be a possibility of trauma, that simple blunt injury, or sometimes simple incised injury, sometimes maybe the the longer form of weapon. Then all these three occasions there will be the source of entry, those source of entry is one, but the virulence as well as number of entry of pathogen, that will be much more severe in the upper limb. So that means the person may have the entry of the pathogens to happen into the intravascular compartment much more severe way. So that means that is responsible for the severe form of disease manifestation that to take place in the upper limb. There may be a possibility of necrosis, or there may be a possibility of kotha or the shotha formation as per the Ayurveda, that is the necrosis or inflammatory changes that can take place in the intravascular compartment as well as interstitial compartment as well as intracellular compartment of the upper limb. Suppose if the person is having the source of entry of the pathogen is happening in the lower limb, that means and the virulence is mild but number is comparatively slower but source is multiple, so that means generalized, that means the and manifestation will be much more generalized in the lower limb. For example, if there is any pathogens that is actually blocking the, what do you say, that the blood vessel which is supplying the lower limb, one lower limb, that means the whole, that particular where there is blockage, the person may develop clinical manifestation, and that too, that will be milder form. And the next one, the source and number of the entry of pathogens is mild, whereas virulence is moderate in the chest or thorax, there may be a possibility of milder form of disease. All this is actually depending upon the one, the source of entry of pathogen into the body, second, the number of pathogens present entering into the body, third one, the virulence of the pathogen that is present or that is entering into the body, plus one more thing, the body's reaction to that. So that means in what way the body is actually making the reaction, so that is deciding the nature of pathogenesis in the human body. The take home message from today's session will be, the source of pathogen is very, very important into the human body. Why? Because the initial manifestation of the symptom, that is starting from the source of pathogen entry. That means if the source of entry of pathogen is happening in the nose, the initial manifestation that will be starting in the nose itself, such as the sneezing or running nose or nasal blockage or postnasal drip, etc., etc. If the person is having source of entry into the eyes, initial manifestation is related to the eyes only, such as the itching or burning sensation to the eyes, or secretions happening into the eyes, or redness of the eyes, etc. And the number of pathogens. So if the number of pathogen is ones or few, then that may produce the milder symptoms. If the number of pathogens is much larger, that is producing much more severe symptoms. So, and the third one, that is virulence of the pathogen, it is helpful in determining the characteristic feature of the disease causing agent. So that means virulence in the sense, so it is how much potent it is to produce regarding pathogenic events. If the virulence is mild, the person may have milder form of the symptom of the disease. If the virulence is much more virulent or much more potent, then that may be responsible for the severe form of the disease manifestation. That's all for today. So my dear members of the Acharya Nidana Academy, if you are liking this particular information, then what are the major key takeaways mentioned in the below in the YouTube channel? And if you want to have such kind of the description, what would be the description that you would like to have mentioned below? And if you are truly liking this particular video, then send this particular video to maximum number of true Ayurveda learners, so that let us make a huge movement out of this particular small message. That's all for today. Something more in the next video. Thank you.